Warning, this episode of The Ring on Macabre Masters is intended for mature audiences. Violence, blood and gore, profanity, and mentions of child death and real-world death are in this episode.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Pope, and we're about to get into the episode on The Ring. But before we do that, I want to let you know that this episode was originally recorded for Lorecast. And we decided afterwards we really liked it, and we liked kind of how everything went. So we decided to bring it to another podcast and start our own thing. But I would definitely check out Lorecast anyway. It's Lore-Cast on pretty much any provider you want. And besides that, from now on, the rest of the podcast will refer to the podcast as Macabre Masters. So we hope you enjoy The Ring.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Lorecast. I am joined by Pope and Noah. It's me, OriginalNick. We are getting back into the swing of things, and when this one goes up, it's going to be October 1st, and we're getting ready for the spooky times, and I asked them both to watch The Ring, so they could watch either the 2003 remake or the original Japanese, or both, or even read the book if they wanted. How are you all doing today?
I'm doing okay. Nothing too crazy happening.
I'm still spooked.
That's why I was texting Pope earlier. I was like, he said, man, the girl in the closet, spoilers for the first 10 minutes of the movie, really messed him up. And it's like, for a PG-13 movie, it's actually pretty good. Usually PG-13 movies aren't that good, besides like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. To me, anyway.
Well,
but yeah, okay.
The thing about that particular scene is that it's obviously body horror, and I found that, like, with me, as I've gotten older, body horror really messes me up. So but one thing happened is I went to Reddit to do, like, I was doing research on this, and I wanted kind of people's opinions on all this stuff. And somebody actually pointed out that the pitch meeting, you know, that guy for Screen Rant, pitch meeting actually kind of made it funny. Because he said that the girl in the closet, and we'll get to that a little bit more in a second, but he said the girl in the closet looked like she looked like somebody had just given her the most awesome gift ever, and she didn't know how to react to it. And if you go back and look at the screenshot, that's exactly what she looks like. Like, she's smiling and so happy she doesn't know, and it like completely took the horror out of it for me. Of course, if you want the thing that keeps Pope up at night, watch Hereditary. Really messing. We need to talk about that one.
That's a great movie.
Yes, I want to. I want to do a lot of the classics for the this season of Lorecast, I guess you can call it. I want to do all of the big boys and some of the like really popular ones, or like really well-known horror movies.
Well, that one just had some of the best body horror ever. I mean, just the one scene, and I won't even point it out, because if you've seen it,
I still need to see it. Yeah.
If you've seen
really
it,
good.
you know what I'm talking about, right? You know
exactly
the
what you're
scene.
talking about.
Yeah. Oh my God, that it's just like, it's 1 second long. It is the most scary 1 second I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, it sticks with you.
It does.
I had to watch it
really
over
does.
2 days. I was like, I had to stop it halfway. I was like, I can't finish this.
Dude, I honestly skipped the third quarter of it. I'm not even kidding. I walked out.
Oof.
I did. I walked out. I couldn't deal with it. And the thing is, I always really like horror movies, and I loved them. And the reason I realized, and I figured out, and I was reminded last night when I watched The Ring, was because no movie had actually really scared me since Pet Sematary when I was a kid. And Pet Sematary messed me up. But the thing is then I saw Hereditary, and it reminded me that it was actually possible for a movie to scare me to where I wouldn't look in a mirror. You know what I mean? Insidious got close, but it didn't quite get there. And then, so I stopped watching horror movies. And the first horror movie I've watched since watching Hereditary was last night for Nick. That's how much I'm dedicated to Lorecast. I sat down and watched that damn movie, and I held my wife's hand, and I was, but yeah. So, we should probably get into like some of the basics of kind of what, you know, for the people who haven't seen The Ring, or maybe they don't know about it.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to do it? I have it all in front of me.
Sure. I think maybe we could, like, if you have a different interpretation of it. I mean, it's kind of set out, but even Sarah had some questions. I might bleep her name out just because I don't know. I'm not going to bleep it out. We started like talking about people who like don't leave their partners out of the spotlight. But yeah, no, Sarah and I, we watched, and Sarah had some questions. So like maybe we could like ask those questions, and then we could also give the response of what we saw within the lore that was set out in the movie.
It might be a good idea just to kind of set
Yeah,
set the
okay.
scene by kind of like just like explaining the movie a little bit,
Sure.
or at least kind of getting into it. So Noah, you want to tell us about The Ring, my man?
Sure. I mean, in a very short summary, there's a videotape that when you watch the tape, someone calls you on the phone and tells you you're going to die in 7 days. And most of the people who have watched the tape die in 7 days. Are we going to get into? Should we just go into spoilers
I think this whole thing is a spoiler thing.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, because I mean, it's the basic lore. It's really shallow.
Yeah.
There is some like deeper stuff, but
it doesn't. It's a pretty simple concept, and I feel like it's pretty effective. But basically, our main character watches the tape, and she's an investigative reporter, it seems, and she doesn't die, and because we find out in the end that she watched it and she showed it to somebody else, and then she also copied it. So the idea is you have to show it to someone else, and they have to copy it in order to stay alive, in order to survive past 7 days. So her kid unfortunately watched it, so it kind of ends with her having her kid record it, and he's gonna have to show it to somebody else at some point, I guess. Otherwise, he dies. But yeah, it kind of leaves you on a very like ominous note.
Yeah.
But that's the general idea. But there's more powers at play. But yeah, that's my summary.
There's a deleted scene where it actually shows what happens to the tape after they copy it.
Oh, really?
And yeah, what they did was they actually dropped it off at, and interestingly enough, a Blockbuster, which, you know, as we know today, guarantees that nobody would ever see it. Because, I mean, I'm just saying, they defeated Samara as far as I know. But yeah, they dropped it off at a Blockbuster, but that was kind of taken out of the final. What I guess the implication at the end of the movie was that since you had seen it, because in the course of watching the movie, you actually see the film that, you know, curses people.
see like 3 times.
Yeah, you see it a few times. And so the idea is that you saw it, and so now you have to copy it, or you'll something really interesting that I read that they did with this was actually the DVD menu. What they did was, first of all, they had a little section where you could go to it, and if you went to it, it played the film from The Ring, so the actual cursed images, you know, it played that. It locked your DVD player so that you could not exit it, or you could not fast forward or rewind. You could only watch it, and then if you kept it on the menu, it would have a phone ring after a certain amount of time in the distance.
That's brilliant.
I actually have the DVD, and I've pushed that button before, but I never had it going on that long. So maybe that's something I'll do in the YouTube version, is you get to see that.
You get to test out the DVD.
Yeah, I do have the DVD. It's full screen though, but that doesn't bother me. But some other people might bother. There is something that happens where they make you think that she's defeated right before they make a copy, and that was the Naomi Watts character actually helped Samara and like went down to the burial site where she is, and basically like tried to set her free, and then her cryptic, really creepy son was like, "You helped her?
You helped her?
That's not what she wants, Rachel."
The actually wife. So I did a little bit of research into it before I watched it, kind of to take the bite out of it, because I'm a weenie now, and I don't watch that many scary movies. So I went into it knowing the ending. And I mean, I guess everybody kind of knows the ending because it's been parodied so much. I mean, you know, Family Guy did it, and freaking, you know, everybody's parodied it. Scary Movie did it. But the thing is so the part where she finds her in the well, and for those who don't know, Samara is the girl from The Ring, you know, with the long hair that's in front of her face. When she did that, my wife Tatiana, she was like, you know, like, oh, she just wanted to be found. And I was like, No, no, no,
No.
no, no, no,
No. She don't care.
No, she don't.
It's not as simple as that.
She is a creepy, creepy, creepy child, which I would actually argue that all children are creepy.
Yeah.
But dude, hey, look, I'm full My Chemical Romance, man. Teenagers,
Yep.
and children scare the living shit out of me. Okay, I don't know why they just creep me out, man. They're weird. I mean, look at Aiden. Look at the kid Aiden, Rachel's son.
That kid was.
Yeah, he keeps calling her Rachel
weird.
the whole time, and I was like, "What is this? That's really weird."
I was confused about the relationship at first. I was like, is that her?
Yeah.
Her stepson or something, or like, are they not related, like blood wise? I was like, why does he keep calling her Rachel? It's not very respectful.
They should have
I've
had a
owned it
deleted
for a while,
scene.
and yeah.
They should have had a deleted scene where Aiden's like, Rachel, why doesn't anybody like me? And then Rachel goes, because you're a sociopath. And like,
Oh my, like the Cosmic Owl.
like the Cosmic Owl, you caught it. Nice. Because you're a sociopath. That kid was the worst part of the movie, in my opinion. He was scarier than Samara, if you ask me.
Yeah, a little bit. Because, like, how does he know? It's like he has some sort of spiritual, like, sense
He has like a
or
connection
something.
to her.
Yeah, but they never explain that. And so you're just kind of left thinking, why does that
I
happen?
think they try to in the second one. The second one, I'm not going to cover on Lorecast.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really awful. It gets way too supernatural. Like, this one's just supernatural enough to where it's like, ooh, wow, it's a spooky tape. But the second one gets even more supernatural. Like, there's a lot more visions and a lot more touching of the burning hand thing that happens in the first one. It just gets a little too full of itself. And like I was even reading here, that's the only Western remake of these that really turned out well is the first one, because they had The Ring 2, The Grudge. What are the other ones that some people try to do?
Wasn't Rings one that came out a couple years ago?
Yeah, 2017.
Yeah.
I never watched that one either.
Yeah, no, me neither.
I don't think anybody did. It's all right. Don't
Grudge,
feel bad.
Dark Water, whatever that is.
And the Eye.
I do know that in Japan, it's still going, the whole series.
Oh, wow.
They even have, so in the American version, her name is Samara, but she's Sadako or Sawako in the Japanese version. And they even have, you're going to laugh, but they have these crossover movies between Sawako and the Grudge person, and there's a Grudge, or no, sorry, there's a
That's
Ring
amazing.
3D. It's
With
ridiculous.
our powers combined.
Yes, it's so ridiculous.
So-
and there's like a bunch of Sawakos, right? Yeah, it's just really weird.
To be fair, the original Ring, the Japanese version, Ringu, of course, which I actually feel a little bit weird saying it like that. It sounds like kind of like you're talking in like stereotype,
Yeah.
like Ringu. But that is literally what
that's
it's
the
called.
actual name.
It's called Ringu. Like, yeah. In the original, that's the thing, is that it was really heavy on like people having powers, and so a lot of the people in the movie did have powers, and so what I think happened was they kind of brushed on it in the first American one, but they kept it a little bit more grounded, which was of course it was thrown out the window as soon as that fly came out of the TV, but it was close. And then they kind of incorporated it later in the second one. The thing about Japanese stuff, though, whether it be Japanese movies or anime or whatever else, is I've noticed, like if you watch something like, take Death Note. Death Note, which was an amazing anime, and then it got turned into an American movie, which was pretty much terrible, barring Willem Dafoe, who was awesome. There's something that almost always gets lost in translation. And I don't really know what it is or how it is or why it is, but it's almost invariably, although I will give credit that I think that the decision to kind of only brush on those kind of powers was the correct one for the first movie, because like you just said, you saw the second one and they all have these powers and stuff like that, and it's just like corny, but that was in the original. But I actually think the most important question about Aiden that never got answered in the movie is how an effing 10-year-old, or however old he is knows how to tie a tie perfectly.
Yes.
I thought that too. I was like, I mean, not in a weird way, but his dad isn't around, and I was like, wait, he knows how to tie a tie.
Mom doesn't even know where the dress is, so I don't think
He laid out his mom's dress. Yeah. I'm like,
he laid it out. He's like, hey, there's a stain on the front, but you'll be okay, Monica. But nobody's ever gonna find out. But the thing is that that was a terrible joke. The thing is also is the character development on the mother, Rachel, was, I thought, really weird, because when it first introduces her, she's like, she's walking behind the thing and the kid's waiting for her, and she's walking behind the thing. She's like, you're a jerk, my boss. You're a total tool. I don't like you. I'm a big, strong, independent woman who don't need no man, like literally. And then suddenly like this stuff happens, and suddenly she's like the most caring person in the entire history of the universe, and she's probably nicer to Samara and put in more effort with Samara than she ever did with Aiden. Okay, so maybe that has something to do with it, because Aiden's like, okay, well, this girl, she's got long hair, she died in a well and stuff, and fingernails, just saying, body horror. And so maybe you'll just like her more than me, which makes sense, because I'm a total sociopath, creepy kid, so I should be in Children of the Corn. I actually showed up to the wrong horror movie, and I should have been in Children of the Corn, but it just didn't work out.
I understand that too. It's pretty weird. Even like that one point where her boss was, that was the weird scene too. Her boss was like, "You're fired." She's like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Go away. Go away." I'd have been like, "Clean out your desk and leave, please. If you're gonna be rude to me even more after I'm telling you you're fired."
And then she's like,
"I'm literally not showing up to work today. I'm working on a story."
And he's like, okay, I guess I'll keep you on.
Yeah, I was like, whatever.
Yeah, you're right. They did kind of abandon that she's kind of an asshole storyline real quick.
Yeah. As soon as obviously she watches it and starts researching, all of a sudden like she's like this super mom who's like, we got to get back to. And then baby daddy shows up, and she's like, "You take care of Aiden when I die." And it's like, what? No.
I thought she died. I got to be honest. I got juked. I thought she died when she fell down the well. I was like, oh, wow, they really killed her off right there. And I was like, that's a pretty
way to go, movie.
And then she didn't die. I was like, oh, man. Well,
there was a few things that I kind of like had problems with, but there's a lot that I liked about it too. I mean, I found that there's a lot to really like about a movie kind of that caliber. I think that I think The Ring is very high caliber as far as horror goes. But it's just their treatment of her, like, and kind of how they handled her character, I think could have been. And Naomi Watts is fabulous. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But that actually kind of leads me into another little problem that I have with it. Hereditary was terrifying, and there's a lot of horror movies that are really scary, and like the original Nightmare on Elm Street is another example. Insidious is a great example, although it doesn't quite count as much anymore because Ty Simpkins. And I am getting to a point, I promise. All of these movies, they feature people that you don't recognize, and one of the reasons for it is because when you're watching a horror movie, one of the ways to alleviate the horror is to remember that it is a movie and that these are actors, and you recognize the actors, and those actors are still alive. They're still in Hollywood doing what they need to do. So when you watch Insidious now and you see Ty Simpkins, who was in Jurassic World, you're like, oh, that's the kid from Jurassic World. But you notice that, I mean, name one actor from Hereditary. Yeah,
I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But
I forgot the mom's name, but she's a great actress, and the guy, the son in it, is also really good too. But I have no idea what their names are. Gotta be honest.
Yeah, I believe she's actually got more popular since Hereditary. I think a lot of people actually were really mad that she got snubbed for the Oscars for that movie because of her performance.
Dude, she was incredible.
She was when she found, but we'll get into Hereditary another time. But my point is,
I'll watch it and we'll have to get on.
We'll
have to get it on here.
Keep that.
Oh my God, Nick, watch
time.
it. Watch
Next
it.
episode.
Watch it and tell. I want to know because that movie ruined me. So I really want.
Sarah gets on to me for not watching it either.
Oh yeah, but it's a doozy.
But the thing is one thing that was distracting about The Ring is that while it had no A-list kind of, that Brad Pitt wasn't in it, you know what I mean? Tom Cruise wasn't in it. Antonio Banderas wasn't in it. Basically, the entire cast of Interview with the Vampire was not in it. Kirsten Dunst wasn't in it. They did have people that were recognizable. Naomi Watts is a recognizable face. Adam Brody, right, from the OC, was in it for a second. Abby from NCIS was in it for a second. And so the thing is like those things take you away from the movie because you're like, oh, well, that's Abby from NCIS. Wow, I forgot I had a crush on her. Still do. Still a babe. But point being that I, as a married man, I feel like I should say, hey, I'm just kidding. I'm married. But then on the other hand, I'm like, she'd probably agree with me because she's amazing. But so I do feel like that was one thing that they did wrong. I think they should have, and the director even commented on this, saying he intentionally didn't hire A-list talent, but I think he should have went even lower than what he did because that definitely. When I'm watching a horror movie, I call it an anchor, right? And so other people might have different terms for it, but the anchor is the thing that reminds you that you're watching a movie. It is the thing that keeps you from getting totally immersed in it. If you are afraid of that, which I am, a lot of people I think really do want to be completely immersed and they go in and enjoy it and then they enjoy being scared. I'm not one of them. So I have my anchors. And one of them was the fact that I recognize a lot of the people when watching that movie. And then, there was a few others, but let me ask you this. Did the movie scare you guys? Like, did it cause, any negative effects?
When I was a kid, absolutely, because I've owned this movie for a very long time. And I've watched it a lot. And it would scare me a lot as a kid, especially the first viewing, because when I was a kid, I didn't have those anchors. Like, I didn't know who Naomi Watts was. I didn't know who Abby from NCIS was. So the first time, I think it really got me. And I think later on in life, body horror is going to scare me more, as you were saying, Pope. So you've talked about it on the podcast before. You've seen combat, and I think, and I've watched a lot of, because I want to be a firefighter. Time of recording, I'm not one yet. And the thing that they say about being a firefighter is it's not the traumatic event itself. It's usually the reactions of the people behind you or like the family member who's grieving. So maybe it's not exactly the traumatic thing. That's why like blood and gore don't scare me. But I think like the after effects of a body that's been like decaying for a few hours has been sitting there. That's probably what's scarier more than seeing the actual event itself. I'm not sure if that's how you feel about, because you've seen combat. I'm not sure like how body horror reacts to you, but as someone who is training to deal with traumatic events and see these traumas unfold, I think it's probably going to scare me more as I become more and more into the fire service and finding like the body part of it more than the gore or a scary supernatural being.
I actually can speak on this just a little bit for of course we got to get to know Noah's impressions, but the thing is I can actually tell you, so when I was in combat I was lucky enough to not have to deal with dead bodies and stuff like that. So thankfully, it's something I'm very thankful, because I still feel if I would have, it would have shattered my mind. But I didn't, so that's good. The reason though that the part specifically with Closet Girl and then the one part in Hereditary, just because I just want to bring that back up because I do think that's excellent body horror. The reason they terrify me actually is not because of even the image itself, but actually because of the reaction to other characters, like you were saying, because the reason is because you empathize. So in The Ring, the reason you see that scene with the girl in the closet is because her mom is at the wake. And so they're like talking kind of about like, how does a 16-year-old, because she was 16, ostensibly, how does her heart stop? And the mom says, well, you didn't see her. And it flashes, it gives a sound cue, like a high like violin or something like that. And it flashes to the scene. So when you watch you're seeing it as her mother.
Because the camera's right in that position to where it like the door opens and the camera is right where a mom's face would be looking down at someone.
And so you're empathizing in that moment as if that was your daughter and you were seeing her in that type of scenario, like looking like that. like she did, like according to pitch meeting, that she just got the greatest gift and doesn't know how to react to it. But in the same thing with Hereditary and the infamous scene, and I don't want to like spoil it for you, Nick, because I want you to watch it. But there later on, the mother finds her daughter, and her screams of anguish, and like I said, people got angry she got snubbed for the Oscars for this. Her reaction was what really made the horror. It wasn't necessarily, the imagery itself. I have deep wells of empathy, and I think it's almost a detriment how empathetic I can be for people, even fictional characters. And so that's, I think, why it was done so well, because in The Ring, if it would have showed that just randomly, or maybe like somebody unconnected to her, like a police officer walked in and found it, I don't think it would have been even slightly scary. I think it was all based on the mother finding her body. With that said, Noah, what did it scare you, man?
Well, here's the thing. I like what you guys are talking about was not really something I really thought about that much, because like the body horror, it kind of freaks you out, especially when it's like super realistic, but they barely showed it. And so like that wasn't what was like that made me uncomfortable. But the thing that really kind of gets me in horror movies is just like unsettling situations and like the tension rising. And so the whole time when she's like researching everything and she goes to the island and talks to the husband and the father, and like when they're uncovering everything, that's the part that like gets me the most stressed out. And so like, it actually, what you were saying, Pope, about like the actors being recognizable, I honestly don't know if I've seen a movie with Naomi Watts, to be honest, and I don't recognize most of the people because I haven't seen NCIS or other shows like that. So most of the people in the movie were, just randos. So I guess it was pretty effective for me because I was pretty immersed in it, because I didn't recognize anybody. I didn't really have that anchor. But I think, that didn't have that particular anchor, but I think the anchor that I have is I'm really interested in like special effects and how they pull things off in movies. And so sometimes I'll kind of think about that. I'm like, oh, how did they do that? Especially in like 2003 and whatnot. But yeah, I totally unrelated. I'm sorry, I'm changing it. But what Nick was saying, or what both of you guys were saying about like the context to seeing these images and like the that's what makes it scary. I can definitely see what you mean, but I'll save that comment for when we talk about Hereditary. I was going to mention Hereditary again, but I'll save that. But I thought it was
sounds like I really have to watch it.
Yeah, but it's a very, very well done film. But I think the mystery was the most intriguing part to me, because like I was trying to figure out what was going on, and I got roped in by the mystery because I had no idea what was going to happen. But I had a train of thought, and now I'm losing it a little bit. Towards the end, like when things are wrapping up, and you think that she helped, and you think that she was like, oh yeah, helping Samara. I tried to do everything I could, and then the kid was like, you shouldn't have done that. Like everything was all fine and dandy. And I was like, wow, this is a really interesting way to end a horror movie. I wouldn't expect that. But then in the back of my mind, because like, I like watching and like learning about visual effects and whatnot, I thought, oh wait, we haven't seen that scene where she comes out of the TV yet, so I'm guessing this doesn't end well.
Yeah, so that's the problem with the movie being ubiquitous is that that it's going to happen eventually. Now,
yeah, it's that. Oh yeah, I was just going to say it's really iconic. Can I add one more thing to what I was going to say?
Of course. What's up?
Okay, so I think the movie is super well shot. Like it's the visuals are really, really good. And the music is also really good. One thing that I noticed is there's this tune, I suppose you could call it, this piece that's been kind of adapted from this old orchestral piece from like the 1800s. Maybe it might be even earlier. It's like a really old, no, it's probably earlier. It's probably like 1600s or something, but it's a very old piece of music called the Dies Irae. And the Dies Irae is basically... it's about like the wrath of God or something. It's just I don't know if it's written for like a whole orchestra or what, but anyways, the Dies Irae often used in films to symbolize that something bad is happening, or death is coming, or something eerie is going on. And in the soundtrack, they used like the first portion of it like very prominently throughout the whole movie, and I thought that was a really smart use. And it kind of reminded me of The Shining, because the main theme of The Shining is based incredibly heavily off of the Dies Irae, and so I thought that was cool as well. But yeah, the movie was really well shot, although it was really gray and green.
Yeah, it's got like a blue filter over all of it.
Yeah.
When it comes to the music, it was Hans Zimmer. So
no way.
That might be another anchor. It's Hans Zimmer, also the guy who directed it, Gore Verbinski. He also directed the
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean and Rango. Oh. So that's why it's pretty well shot. I do love the first Pirates of the Caribbean, second and the third one. And I love Rango. So I can see why I like this movie so much as well.
Yeah,
but yeah, that is interesting what you're talking about, the Dies Irae. But go ahead.
Yeah, it was like surprisingly well shot, and I feel like I'm kind of a cynic when it comes to horror movies. Like the beginning of it, I was really skeptical because it's just these two teenagers talking, and I was like, oh, this is just kind of cheesy, But then once it started getting like more serious, I got roped into a little bit more. But oh man. I'm really bad at talking straight and trying to say thoughts.
That's all good.
They kind of go sometimes, but you guys can go ahead and talk, and I'll remember what I was saying in a little bit.
Did you guys find did you find Samara scary at all?
See, that's another thing that I think doesn't scare me, but I do believe that it's a thing in Japan. Hair over the eyes, I think, is something that's scarier to them. Not being able to say the face. So I think it's just something that didn't translate well, because I don't think Samara herself scared me.
Yeah.
I didn't find her very scary. I think when she was in like the psych ward and they were telling her, yeah, you can't go home. You can't go home till we fix you. Maybe that was a scary situation.
Yep. I agree.
I usually don't find monsters scary. I usually don't find supernatural beings scary. I usually find situations or actual people scary. So I didn't find her scary. I think that when it showed what actually happened to her, that was sad and scary at the same time to me. Was how could a real human being do that to their real daughter?
Yeah.
And how could they really not care? So that scared me more than actual Samara did.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you said, especially the psych ward part. Like, that was probably the most creepy part about her. She really didn't. The one scene that I was like, was when the Naomi Watts character was pulling the hair out of her throat.
Oh yeah,
that was disgusting.
Yeah.
Oh god,
that
or not hair,
but it was like a node.
Yeah, that was nasty.
I think it was an electrode, like for when somebody attaches something to you, like an electrode. But the it's really weird because on Reddit, I looked into it, and like one thing that actually got a lot of people, but did not bother me at all. And I guess it was bothersome, like from a humanitarian or just like kind of a standpoint of somebody who cares about other beings. But beyond that, like movie effects and stuff like that, it didn't bother me. But what got a lot of people was actually the horse. The situation with the horse was like I saw like just like pages of people talking about how disturbing they found that scene with the horse. This is a full spoiler thing, so guys, there's a horse. And it's deathly afraid of Naomi because she's cursed by Samara, who her curse actually caused the death of a lot of horses for reasons she was pissed off at the horses because their dad locked her in the barn, and so they always kept her alive. So basically, after she died, she cursed the fucking horses and killed them. Oh, there's my one. Anyway, so so the horse is deathly afraid of Naomi, and so it busts out of its enclosure and it runs around, and you're like, oh, what's going to happen to this horse? I hope it's okay. And it jumps off the edge of a ferry. They're on a ferry going to an island, and it kind of its legs catch on the side, and it falls off the side of the boat, and then the rotors of the boat kill it. No, you don't see that. You just see blood. It's implied. But once again, an empathetic thing is that actually the horse's owner, who's the little girl who earlier in the scene is like, my horse, she sees it die. And so you're like, oh man, that's so heavy.
Yeah,
Like, how,
that would be traumatic to see,
Yeah.
like, this beast that you've probably raised or got very young just to yeet itself off the back of.
Yeet.
Yeah, it did. It was pretty traumatic. For her. I was like, man, that would be really sad if my daughter was like, wow, my beast that I've raised and ridden for a while is just jumped off and died.
Okay, so contrary to what you guys are saying, I might sound like a giant asshat, but like,
You laughed.
but I didn't catch the fact that that was that girl's horse. And so when she screamed, I was like, that's a bit of an overreaction. And then like the blood came out. My mom happened to be in the room and we both started laughing because it was like so
my
over the
God.
top. And I was like, whoa. And yeah, but okay, so I sound like a dick now, but like
No, it's all good. It's
I
all
did
good.
not catch that. That makes a lot more sense now why she got so
No,
freaked
it's all
out.
good.
Because I didn't even
Yeah.
see a body or anything. She just screamed. I was like, she's screaming at blood. But yeah, that would suck. That was like when it like jumped off and killed itself. I was like, oh god, that sucks. But then it went that step further, and I was like, oh, okay.
I'll tell you something actually that was a little bit surprising to me in the movie too and I don't know like if I just think the worst in people or whatever, but I will say that I was actually relieved by a part in the movie, and the reason is because there in a certain part of the movie it was implied that the father killed her. And
Yeah.
and then but that actually wasn't true. It was the mother. It actually later showed the full scene of. That's what Nick was talking about, was the full scene of the mother doing it. But the girl was haunting him, and he talks about how she was always whispering in his ears, and she just wouldn't leave him alone. And I thought that where they were going with it was that actually he had assaulted her, and
Yeah.
and that she was the reason she was doing all this stuff was because she was furious about being assaulted and then murdered, which unfortunately in real life things like that do happen, and it's
Yeah.
one of the greatest tragedies in just ever. And so that's kind of where I thought where they were going with it. And when it didn't happen that way, I was actually super relieved and super
Yeah.
like okay, because that's beyond the pale. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Although I do think that maybe there's potential that maybe would have been a better motivation than her just kind of being a sadistic little bitch. But at the same time, I also appreciate that she's sadistic. I mean, that's cool. You know, I mean, how many times? The thing is, too, especially in American horror, how many times do you have like horror like they don't. So I think the thing is in American horror, we always need some kind of like real justification for what happens.
Yeah.
You know what
yeah.
I mean? And in the case of Samara, there's no real justification. Yes, she got murdered,
Yeah.
but she doesn't really care. She got murdered because even when she was alive, she had some kind of power, which isn't really gone into too much. But she hurt the people around her constantly. And so in death, as in life, she was just a very, very rude, mean person. And I got to give him props because, like, you know, you don't expect that. You always expect the child to be sweet and nice and cool. And, you know, it's the adults that ruin them, and it's the adults that mess them up.
Yeah.
But she is tore up from the floor up.
She was the one, yeah.
Yeah.
And no, I will say one thing that like kind of undid the entire movie for me was actually the reason I asked you earlier if Samara scared you was because you see her in her non spooky form during the movie when she's doing that
Yeah.
interview. But when they show her at the end in her spooky form, it is so laughably bad. She looks like Linda Blair
Yeah.
from The Exorcist, and not even a good version. The thing is Samara was, I mean, she was a pretty girl, you know what I mean? Like, she's obviously a kid and everything, but she was a pretty kid that chances are would have grown into a very pretty adult. And to take her and just turn her into this ugly, misshapen thing that looks nothing like what she looked like, because I mean, it's not like she grew up and then got killed and then turned into this monster. Like, she was still a kid when she died. I mean, it showed the moment she was a kid. I thought that was really weird and a really weird decision. I think it would have been much more effective if they would have used the base of like her normal face and then built upon it from there. But it doesn't seem like they did that. Like they almost like seriously. Like when I think about her face, I automatically go back to Linda Blair and The Exorcist. Like that's what she'd look like to me, which kind of just undid the whole illusion for me because I don't. No matter how long you spend in a well, you're probably not going to look like that if you start by looking like Samara did. So
I think usually, like, when they show less, it's usually scarier to me.
Yeah.
To me, I don't like knowing what the monster looks like. Or if they do show it very briefly, and more controlled. That was like a straight up, here she is.
Yeah.
Here she is, have fun.
I have a question. Oh, wait, sorry. Are you?
No, you're good.
Is that scene at the end, the very iconic coming out of the TV scene, is that in the Japanese film?
Yes, it is. I've watched the Japanese once, and it's coming back to me. That happens at the very end.
Yeah.
It's literally almost the exact same movie. If I remember right, it's just a lot of.
There's just a lot more Japanese people in it.
Japan. Oh,
I was going to say that, but I was like, nah.
Never mind. I found out what actually. There's a difference between the Japanese Sadako and the American Samara. There's a big difference, actually.
What's the difference?
What's that?
Sadako, the main bad girl, was born intersex, which means you are individual, born with the sex characteristics of both. Mm-hmm. You can even have like both genitalia or different parts of, like both at the same time. And so the doctor threw Sadako into a nearby well before crushing her with rocks.
Oh my God!
I'm looking up the synopsis. Because, I watched it a long time ago, and I'm like, whoa. Whoa.
Honestly, that kind of, like...
It changes...
Yeah, it would give her more of a... I mean, I see what Pope is saying about, like, how she's just an asshole for the sake of being an asshole. Yeah. But I feel like maybe for a Western audience, almost, it would work better to adapt that way, because then you kind of have some justification as to why she's, like, haunting people, But
yeah,
I think it would have been effective either way, honestly. I think one of the things that really stood out to me was...
Sorry, I read something else before that part, and it's even worse.
Oh, you're good. One of the things that was really effective to me was, like, the symbolism, and I don't quite know exactly, like, how it's all related, and I'd like to look into it more, but, like, that image with the ring, when you see the light shining from... the top, like the top or from below the well, and you kind of understand where that comes from. You're like, oh, that makes sense now. And just all these different images, it was very interesting and very, like, the ladder and all that kind of stuff. Like, it kind of reminded me, and this is a little definitely unrelated, but it kind of reminded me of, like, David Lynch almost, because he's very into like imagery and symbolism and like very different ways of storytelling, and I thought that was interesting. But I definitely want to look into that more to see, like, what all these images represent, because I think there is some meaning to it.
You might be interested to know that David Lynch was originally asked to direct it, and he turned it down.
Yes.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense now. Yeah. Okay. Why'd he turn it down? That would be very interesting to see a David Lynch Ring movie.
That would be interesting. I'm not sure. I don't think I've actually ever seen a David Lynch movie. I probably have and just not known. I actually realized I was looking up the plot for the Ring book. So there's actually... So whenever you were, unfortunately, Pope, saying that you were relieved that the father did not assault the daughter.
Oh, man.
In the original book, the person who was the investigator is... the original one of the 14. So 4 teens in the book die in Tokyo, and one of them is the uncle. So the uncle is the one who is out searching, and he finds the doctor, who I suppose is the one who did some procedures with Sadako. So it says Ryuji aggressively pressed Dr. Jiroto for answers. The doctor, buckling under pressure, explains that he was infatuated with Sadako and raped her in the woods near the hospital, infecting her with smallpox, and then he unknowingly contracted. Jotaro was injured during the struggle, during which he finds out that Sadako was intersex, resulting in the doctor throwing Sadako into a nearby well, crushing her with rocks. So, so it kind of puts it into a different context. That's the book. I'm scared to read the book now. That's
Yeah.
pretty.
That's a little heavy.
I mean, maybe it was the implicate. I don't know if you guys got that read off of it before it revealed what actually happened. I mean, maybe the implication was
Maybe he was ashamed.
it was like it was
embarrassed.
it was meant to be there. I'm not sure if it was or not. That's just what I got off of it.
No, I kind of agree. I was a little worried that they were going to go that direction too.
In the movie, I thought,
movie, yeah.
I can see how like they would be like, yeah, the father was the one who did that. I can see how we would say that.
I mean,
He did cause her psychological horror by throwing her up in the loft in the barn.
Yeah, that was messed up, dude. Oh,
Yeah.
that made me mad. I was like, he can't just.
So yeah, that's the connection to the horse. Is they would keep her up at night. A lot of the images in the tape are her little small room up at the top of that ladder in the barn, that loft area.
So they really should do a crossover with Harry Potter, because I mean they just both
my
of them got
gosh.
stuffed into places they didn't want to be. He became a wizard. She became a psychopathic ghost girl that comes out of VHS tapes. I think this is the ultimate crossover.
You need a rap battle between them.
The only problem with it is that if it was the original version of her, she's intersex, which means that probably J.K. Rowling would have a problem with her.
Get them.
True.
So not exactly probably holding my breath for that particular crossover. However, I mean that makes sense. I don't know, man. Japanese people, like, they are just so clever, and they are so freaking clever. And when they choose to do something, they do it right. I mean, their horror is scary. Like, even when they're like doing something, like, have you guys either read the manga or the book or seen Battle Royale?
No, but I do want to watch the movie. I think I've seen parts of the movie, but not the whole thing.
The movie is okay. I do appreciate that it wasn't like an Americanized version of it, because
like this.
Yeah, well, this one at least was done tastefully. A lot of American movies, like take Let the Right One In, right? So that's a Swedish book and then a Swedish movie as well, which, by the way, was creepy. But we take it and we put freaking Hit Girl in it, and and it just becomes this entire like sensational thing, and it's like we really do. We take other people's stuff and ruin it most of the time. But I appreciate that when a Battle Royale movie was made, it was made Japanese. It was in Japanese. It was with a Japanese cast. But Battle Royale is another example of just masterful storytelling, because it's like the premise is so simple. You put a bunch of kids on an island, and their job is to kill each other, and only one can survive and leave. What happens after? Such a simple premise. But they make you care throughout the thing. In the manga and in the book and in the movie, although to a lesser extent, a lot of the stuff they pull off in the manga is really hard to pull off on film. But
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Japanese people just do it really, really, really well. And I think that The Ring is a reflection of that. It's a reflection of like kind of this excellence. Now, I will say that I heard on Reddit that the closet girl scene in the Japanese one was actually like 20 times scarier than it was in the American version. But I will never watch it. So I'm curious, Nick, as somebody who's seen it, if you can corroborate this, or if maybe it's maybe they're just exaggerating for upvotes.
I'm looking it up again just to see what the image is. Oh no, that's the that's the American one.
She's so happy.
She does look. Well, what it is they accentuate Sadako's eyes. I'm looking at the image now. All you see is half of her all blacked out pupil and iris, and it's just a gigantic zoom up of her eyeball. It is a lot scarier. It is a lot cheesier as well, because it is 1998 when the Japanese one comes out. So I am trying to see.
It's not the scariest thing that came out that year, though. That was Godzilla.
Oh, yeah.
I actually love that movie. I'm joking. I loved Godzilla 1998. Loved it.
Oh,
Da-na-na.
Zilla or actual?
It was
Godzilla?
Zilla.
Isn't that the one with
Da-na-na.
the...
Oh, Matthew Broderick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Broderick, yeah.
Matthew Broderick. I love Elvis. He's the king. It's such a good movie. I don't care what nobody says, and I love the new Godzilla movies too. But I don't care what nobody says. That movie's a classic. Did you guys know that there was later a Japanese Godzilla movie? It was like Godzilla versus like everybody or something. They actually killed Zilla in that movie.
Yeah, I remember watching something about it.
That I was like, man, that's mean. But once again, Japanese people do Godzilla 20 million times better. I mean, look at Shin Godzilla.
Yeah, I wanted to watch that after watching the 2014 one with Aaron Taylor Johnson with a kick-ass running around.
Yeah, the dude. Oh, he was kick-ass, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I did not catch that when I watched it, but he was kick-ass.
And what's his name?
And Breaking Bad guy.
Quicksilver.
Bryan
yeah.
Cranston, yeah.
Oh, Cranston,
But
yeah.
the Marine, I did not. He's so familiar looking, and I had no idea why. But yeah, that's kick-ass. Wow, crazy.
Isn't the
That's your ranker for that
isn't the
one.
girl from Stranger Things in there as well?
She's in
or is
the
that
newer
Things the
ones.
one?
Yeah.
Oh
No, in Godzilla 2014, she wasn't in it, but then in the next one, King of the Monsters, she was, and then also in Godzilla vs. Kong, Millie Bobby Brown.
I don't keep up much on those, but have seen some scenes from them. They look very effects heavy, which is very interesting.
Dude, Godzilla King of the Monsters. So you know how like I talk about like I'm telling you about anchors and how like ways that I like kind of keep myself like give myself distance between the movie. Mm-hmm. When I'm watching something like Godzilla, I don't. I want to be fully immersed, and so me and Tatiana watched it together on HBO Max, Godzilla vs. Kong, and dude, there's a part where Kong, like they've been kind of dancing around each other for a while, and Kong gets up and he like freaking walks up to Godzilla and straight up just right hooks him in the face, like Mike Tyson style, just boom, straight. He just ices his jaw, and me and Tatiana were like, oh, like it was like the cool, like it was like watching seriously like a prize fight, like it was like the coolest thing ever, you know. It's definitely, those movies are definitely worth watching, except Godzilla 2014. Which was garbage in my opinion, but the other two, those are really good. But yeah, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Nick.
No, it's all good. No, it's fine. I forget what we were talking about.
We were talking about apparently an eye.
It was just a scary prolonged shot of an eye. Yeah.
Well, don't forget that sometimes the horror isn't in the horror itself. The horror is actually in the implication. So
I think that's what it is. They never really show, if I remember right, I just looked at a bunch of pictures, I don't think they actually really show the full Sadako face like they do in the 2003 American remake, where they show the full everything. And she's not even like glitchified. It's just like a regular girl coming out of the TV. And I think that's even scarier because like we're talking about how supernatural things don't really scare me, but it's a real girl coming out of a real TV to come kill a real guy. She's not glitchified, doesn't glitch across the screen. She like actually crawls out, and I think that's a little more scarier to me.
I don't know. That is creepy imagery, but I actually,
it is. Yeah.
In preparation for this, I also read the description of Ring 2 on Wikipedia, just so like if we talked about it, I would have some kind of idea what you're talking about. And I will say there is one scene that sounds scary from that movie that I haven't seen it. But that is, I guess, there's a part where Rachel somehow finds herself back in that well, even though the body shouldn't be there. She got a proper burial. But anyway, she finds herself in the well, and then I guess Samara like follows her up the well, and like her body's all contorted and screwed up. I'm like, man, come on, why we got to do the contorted, screwed up body stuff, man? Like that's just freaking, that's freaky deaky. I can't deal with that stuff. You know what I mean? Like The Grudge, is another example. Like I've never seen The Grudge, but it's a meme at this point. It's ubiquitous. So
yeah, that's that sound. I have the American remake, and I'm scared to watch it just because I hear it's not going to be that good. But
the real horror is in how terrible it is.
The real horror is American Hollywood coming to swoop in and make
coming
big
to
bucks
colonize
off
your
of it.
movie.
Gentrification.
I do feel like America, for the most part, takes really great stuff and just ruins it.
Oh yeah.
I like whenever they come up with their original stuff, like Get Out and
Hell yeah.
what else is pretty good from Nightmare on Elm Street's American. That's good. The first Halloween. We just need to stick to our own stuff instead of stealing others.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead, Pope.
I was just gonna say, like, I'm definitely not trying to argue that America doesn't ever make good movies. I mean, guys, we
sure.
made Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like,
Teenage Mutant.
like
Guys,
we made that
the
movie.
B movie.
We made Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Then we made Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Then we remade Ninja Turtles. Then we remade Ninja Turtles.
All right,
And then
okay.
the Ninja Turtles got
I'm talking about the original movie. I'm talking about damn. Okay, like I'm talking about
The 80s movies
it was 90s.
with Casey. Oh, 90s with Casey. What's his name?
Casey Jones.
Casey Jones.
You class.
I've only seen 1 and 2. A long time
Don't
ago.
ever watch 3. Stay innocent, my child. Don't ever do it. Same thing with Jurassic Park. Don't ever watch 3. Just everybody out there in Lorecast land. In fact, if it's a movie trilogy, don't ever watch the third one. Okay, Alien 3, don't
Ooh,
watch
what about
it.
Star
Jurassic
Wars?
Park 3, don't watch it. Star Wars 3, decent, but probably still shouldn't
I meant
watch
Return
it.
of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi.
Return
Well,
of the
that's
Jedi's
actually
great.
that's what I was talking about too. Was Return of the Jedi.
It's a good
Oh,
movie.
okay.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about the prequel trilogy that people keep telling me exist, but I refuse to acknowledge.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe I saw him at one point, but look, sometimes like when you have trauma that bad, you gotta hide it in somewhere in the back of your mind and forget that it ever happened. And every time somebody brings it up, the only thing I can really say is no. You know, I don't know, man. It's the curse of the third movie, and we're getting ready to get the third Jurassic World movie, and I'm terrified. I am terrified.
Yeah.
I only watched the first one of those, and I was like, hey, it was all right.
I've seen the first 2 Jurassic Parks, never watched anything past that.
Oh, dude, watch Jurassic World, and then skip Jurassic World 2, which was an abomination.
Fallen Kingdom?
Fallen freaking Kingdom. It should have been
I
Fallen
never watched it.
Expectations. It's freaking terrible. And this is
Fallen
coming
Rotten
from a guy.
Tomatoes score.
Yeah, seriously. Like, I have a Jurassic Park tattoo. I'm wearing a Jurassic Park hat right now. I am obsessed. I have my whole shelf behind me in my home office is Jurassic Park toys, ranging from the first one all the way to the newest one. Like, I am obsessed. And that movie made me want to find the guy who directed it and punch him the way Kong punched Godzilla. Like, it's just one really good right hook to the face. Anyway, it makes me mad. Anyway, point being, and also The Ring. Apparently the second one was bad, and the third one, apparently she was like bringing down helicopters and stuff.
What the hell?
I never watched Rings.
That's what I hear. She was like tapping into technology and bringing down helicopters and stuff.
You want to know a little secret?
What's
The
the
Ring
secret?
2 is actually the third Ring because they made a short film in between the first and the second one.
Ooh.
That makes it number 3.
Ooh.
Oh,
Do you guys have any questions about like the movie? Because I have like one question that like I tried to look it up and find an answer, but I really couldn't. And that question is, if she was free from the curse by copying it and showing it to somebody else, then like why was she still like seeing visions and like dealing with like the physical effects, like the bloody nose and all that? Why was that still going on? Did she still have to wait 7 days in order for that to disappear? Because like I feel like if she already beat the curse, she shouldn't be having to deal with that. But I couldn't find an answer. Do you guys have any idea on why that would be the case?
to quote a great man on YouTube, unclear.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever satisfactorily answer that question, my man.
Yeah, that was the question that Sarah had. She's like, why did why was she didn't want to be helped, but why did the making the copy? But why does she never sleep? That's the thing they keep saying. Like Aiden keeps going, she never sleeps.
Why does that
She never
matter?
sleeps." Yeah, I know.
That's a good point. Like they never did anything with it. Like, like maybe, they find her instead of coming out of the TV all creepy. Like they find her in a room and she's in the middle of it on a chair and she's just hanging out. She's got all those EKG things all over her, right? And she's right there and her head's all nodded off and she looks like she's sleeping. And then Rachel, who apparently got a mom complex in the middle of the movie, finally. She sees her and she's like, aw, she looks so peaceful. And then she's like, I never sleep. And she wakes up and then she starts killing people, pulls out her like samurai sword and just starts chopping horses' heads off and stuff. That would have been cool. Yeah, probably not. Yeah. That probably would have been stupid, but it would have at least explained why they kept using that line.
They brought up a lot of ideas and then just like never paid it off, which can be interesting sometimes because it leaves some mystery, but other times it's just like frustrating because you're just left wondering why the hell did this happen? Doesn't make any sense.
She never sleeps. She's always keeping a silent vigil. And then, so the thing that really undoes the horror for me as well is thinking about certain logistics. So think about it for a second, okay? You get the tape. You have the VHS tape right now, and you have a VCR. Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, come on. And you have it, and you put it in. How does A, Samara know that it was watched? B, how does she know your phone number? C, how does she know how to use an answering machine in order to leave a thing? Because she left a message on there, okay? Ostensibly, it's heavily implied, right? Mm-hmm. How does she, is Samara just sitting up in her barn? She's not sleeping. So, I mean, she knows when you're sleeping, she knows when you're awake, and she knows when you've watched the movie. So she's waiting there, she's got her phone next to her, and she somehow knows, and then she calls you. But, I mean, does she have a phone plan? Does she call collect? It's
she got a big old phone book with just everyone in the area.
She's like, Rachel, maybe Aiden's
she keeps calling the Rachels, and she's like, you will die in 7 days. Like, why? And like, never mind. I'm sorry.
Wrong person, wrong number.
Wrong number. I'm sorry.
It was 2002, so maybe what if Rachel didn't switch to regular yet, and she's still up on dial-up? It's like, Aiden, we're trying to get a call. Aiden, trying to get a call off the computer, baby, sweetie.
Like, Mom, you interrupted my World of Warcraft session. I don't know how old that
is. You interrupted my. I'm
trying to play StarCraft. Mom,
you logged me out of BattleNet. Jeez.
I'm just trying to play Club Penguin, Mom.
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, logistically, there's a lot about it that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, so can she tap into the electricity and kind of she doesn't have to do that? And then the thing, so there's a real big problem with actually the common kind of omniscient villain that Samara is. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because you have to be able to see everything and know everything to know that somebody actually watched the tape. For example, in the second movie, from the description on Wikipedia, it says that a guy tries to get his girlfriend to watch the tape, which is, by the way, a really rude thing to do. But he tries to get her to watch it, but it's actually revealed that she closed her eyes during the tape, so the curse didn't apply to her. But how would Samara know that? How close?
She's always watching.
I mean, that's the creepy thing. You know what I mean? I'm sitting there like I'm taking a shower and Samara's like, you have 7 days. Like, hey, get out of here. You know what I mean?
She takes over your Spotify, listen to a podcast.
I do. I listen to Audible in the shower.
I feel like it would just be a very this movie does not work in the 21st century or in the day of the smartphone. It only works because it came out in 2002 and because VHS and VCRs were everywhere. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't even work 6 years later when DVDs were a thing, I don't know. Well, actually, it might work. It probably would work at DVDs. But I don't know. It really, a lot of the charm kind of comes with when it came out,
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. And so it came out right at the tail end of VHSs. VHSs were getting ready to be phased out and DVDs were getting ready to come in. But now I'm just picturing it with cell phones, the part where she's in the well. You know what I mean? Dude's like, I'm going to go find something. She's like, no. I got my flashlight. You know what I mean? She pulls it out, her phone's not messed up because it's IP68 rated, and so she the waterproof, and she pulls it out. She's like, oh, there's a dead body in here. That's kind of unfortunate. Hey, let's get out of here. This is stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, All right, Nick. I think that we've had a very thorough talk about the adventures
I
of
think so.
Samara and Harry Potter. So
I feel like we got the lore out of the way pretty quickly. It's a pretty easy setup, and the lore is pretty shallow, and they don't delve too much into it. And we didn't really talk about the Japanese one because it's almost the exact same thing. Because it's almost like a One Direction, but it's localized for America, not translated, but localized. So I think it did a pretty good job of setting up the world. And I never watched the rest of it. I may want to eventually go into the 2019 Sadako that came out in Japan, Sadako 3D, Sadako 3D 2.
Ooh.
So I may even read the book at some point, maybe not, probably not. But I think we did a pretty good rough estimate of the lore, and we did a good, we hit the beats of the plot point. We didn't even talk about the video, but watch it. I'll do a YouTube exclusive version where I sprinkle in whatever we're talking about throughout. And so it'll be like a nice little crossover between what we do here and what I'm going to start doing there. It's going to be good. And I think we did a pretty good job today.
Oh yeah.
all right. So yeah, I think it might be about time to wrap this up, my friends.
Yeah. Pope and Noah, do you have anything you want to shout out before we get out of here?
I'll let Noah go first. I've been talking this whole time.
Not really. I mean, just be nice to everybody. That's all I got.
And that's fantastic.
Be excellent.
Don't go
to each
killing
other.
people after they watch a video and call them and tell them they're going to die in 7 days. That's just not cool. That's my advice for the week.
That is a serious faux pas on the part of Samara. Like, seriously, girl, like, get some manners. No reason. No wonder your parents abandoned you.
She doesn't even say hello when she calls the phone.
I know, right?
She doesn't
just
introduce
like,
herself.
"Oh, God." Like, is this
she-
a telemarketer again?
She's trying to. She's like, she would be more effective if she tried to call about your car's extended warranty.
You will die in 7 days unless you extend the warranty on your vehicle. That movie will never again be scary. I will think about this stuff and laugh every time I see it for the rest of my life. So thank you guys, because I was creeped out last night. As far as my shout outs go, I actually I have one shout out. And that shout out is for my lovely wife, who is patiently waiting right now. It's her birthday. She's turning 27. And she turned 27 today. And she's been patiently waiting for me to finish this podcast for us to go get her birthday dinner. So, obviously, I love my wife very much. She watched the movie with me and held my hand and made sure that I didn't get too creeped out. And, kisses my boo-boos and all the other good stuff. So, shout out to my wife.
All right, that sounds good. I'll do a little plug. I just bought your t-shirts, and they finally came in. They're fantastic. If you ever want to get a peep at Pope's art, go to beautymilk.com. That's where I got my t-shirts from. They're absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Lorecast. Today we talked about The Ring. And like I said, throughout the video, I'm going to be doing a YouTube exclusive, so make sure to check out the YouTube. Go to youtube.com/a bunch of numbers. I'll put it in the in the thing. My name has been OriginalNick, and I was joined by Noah and Pope, and we will see you all in the next episode of Lorecast. Right. Bye, everyone.
Later.
You will die. Unless you subscribe to Lorecast! Oh, yeah! All right, bye, guys.
All right. Later.